Welcome to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast may contain detailed spoilers. For spoiler-free reviews, be sure to check out our show on YouTube. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment. It's not the podcast you need right now. It's the podcast you deserve. This podcast is not a hero. It's a silent guardian. A watchful protector. It's Reviews Without Remorse. And this is episode number 132. And in this episode, the Orville returns for a third season, but not on Fox. Is this a good thing? We will speculate. It's not a horror movie, but we just saw the most terrifying trailer we've seen all year. We'll talk about the preview for the new Cats movie. And I believe what doesn't kill you only makes you stranger. Reviews Without Remorse will put a smile on your face as we review Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. What's going on, partner?
Not much, my man. I'm feeling pretty good, a little excited, a little nervous. I'm not sure how this review is going to go. I think you might be a little surprised, actually. But a little excited, yeah. I've been wanting to review this, like I said in Batman Begins, I wanted to review this since we started, and here we are 3 years later, finally getting to the Nolan trilogy.
Yes, we did. It was a long road to get here, but we're finally here, and I am also excited, so let's get to it.
Ah, you are home. It is about time.
Isaac, what are you doing?
I am awaiting my dinner. This has caused me to become displeased.
You don't eat. And what the hell are you wearing? Is that underwear?
Affirmative.
I thought we were going out tonight. I was looking forward to trying that butter cake at Muska's.
The last thing you need is more dessert.
Excuse me?
As I am incapable of stuttering, I must conclude that you heard me.
The Orville is no longer on Fox? Seems that the show's being moved to Hulu. Does this mean we're getting sexy time stuff? Nudity? Cursing? Stuff like that? What does this mean? The new episodes aren't coming till January 2020. They're filming them now. So, Joe, what's your feeling on the Hulu move?
You know what? I didn't even think of that until you just said it, and I hope that they do not go that route, because I kind of feel like it's like when Howard Stern went to XM radio and suddenly it was every other word was the F-bomb, and you sort of missed the days where he had to dial it back and had to, again,
creative.
Had to be creative and had to sort of dance the line of getting a little too carried away. I hope that they don't. And I am very surprised, because you would think that Fox and Seth MacFarlane would have a pretty rock solid relationship. And the show, I think, is doing great. I mean, again, I'm a huge fan, and I've never heard anyone say that they're not.
People who have actually watched it, not people who have prejudged it.
Right, exactly. I mean, anybody who watches it, especially, frankly, Star Trek fans. I mean, most of the Star Trek fans that I've heard from, in fact, all of the Star Trek fans that I've actually heard from, prefer it to anything happening over at CBS All Access. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was a little surprised by that, but and by the way, I guess it's just one more streaming service I have to now pay for, at least for a month or so, to binge watch the Orville, unless maybe somebody can get it for me free. But anyway, so yeah, I'm just happy it's going to go on, frankly.
I agree. I am also happy it's going to go on. I'm not a big fan of Hulu. I don't like the idea of paying for a subscription. Oh, and by the way, here's commercials. Screw that noise. I hate that crap.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, honestly, it's getting... And again, I feel like if it's going to get this crazy, then the prices are going to have to come down. Because I'm not going to pay like $12 a month for every individual channel I watch. Like, again, one show over here, I got to pay for that channel. One show over there, I got to pay for that channel. By the way, on a side note, I was very sad to hear that two of the cast who only got married not that long ago apparently just got divorced, like within the last few days.
About that. Yeah, I heard about that. Kelly and And the pilot dude.
Yeah.
What the hell, man?
So you got to wonder how I got to wonder if it's going to be a little weird going to work,
The whole plot of the show is, making things work with your ex. So I guess there's kind of an art imitates life thing going on there.
And vice versa, yeah. Anyway, but like I said, I am a huge fan of the show. It's honestly one of my few shows that I really get excited for. So I'm just glad it's going to continue in some form or another, and one way or another, I'll be watching.
Seen you before, have I? Open up and tell me.
Oh boy. Cats, directed by Tom Hooper, based on the T.S. Eliot poetry collection and the play, the musical. As I'm watching this, all I'm thinking of is every furry in the world has an erection right now.
They're gonna feel so vindicated and validated, etc.
Oh,
ooh, yeah.
I remember. First of all, I remember the original Cats play. The look, it was mostly some fur and some makeup and stuff like that. It wasn't really done as creepy as this looks. This creeped me out, dude.
Yeah.
And I love horror movies.
Yes, I know what you're saying. Yeah, it was some interesting makeup and costumes. It was not Dr. Seuss. They were not trying to be creatures. Yeah, it's yeah, wow. Yeah, look, I'm going to tell you something. I have seen many Broadway plays that I really enjoyed. I've always had a very mixed relationship with Broadway shows. I've seen, especially like this sort of new wave of like concerts or like a very modern sounding band. Like they'll do Billy Joel will put something on Broadway, Elton John will put something on Broadway, and these young peppy Broadway singers will mutilate the classic music of that I grew up on. And again, I feel like every time I see a Broadway play become a movie, it's always really sort of hit and miss, and a little more toward the miss, because I feel like, again, if it worked on stage, it works on stage for a reason.
Right.
Leave it on stage, because when you put it to a movie and you try to do these little weird little musicals, and it just comes off so kind of kooky and bizarre. And no better example than Cats. Cats, again, I remember seeing it. I didn't see it like when it was real hip and popular. I was sort of late to the game, and I eventually, like, I got tickets to go see Cats. You want to go see it? Oh, yeah, okay, I've never seen it before. And I went, all right, it was cute, interesting, whatever. But that's fine, and that's it. So the fact that somebody decided we need to do a movie and make it a star-studded cast. I mean, again, once I saw what's her the chubby Wilson girl, Rebel Wilson, yeah, like falling all over and getting her hand caught and yelling and stuff. I mean, I said this is really bordering on parody. Like again, like a show like The Critic would do a goof on, look, all the Broadway plays that they're turning into movies, and now we got Cats, and it's just all the famous actors and actresses all dressed like cats. Ugh, it's almost, it's like cringy. Yeah, it does. It's cringy on multiple levels.
Idris Elba, Taylor Swift, Rebel Wilson, Judi Dench, Ian McKellen, Jennifer Hudson, Ray Winstone. These are not, small-time people. So I'm not going to go frickin' see this gosh darn movie. And I don't have a problem with movies that are based on musicals. That's not my problem here. My problem is it's just creepy as hell.
Well, this is one of those where
I feel weird watching it.
It is creepy, and it's one of those where at the end of the day, you look at the final product and you go, okay, who is this aimed for? I don't see who the target audience is for this. I don't see anybody run, unless, like you said, unless you're a furry or a diehard cat lover. I don't see who's going to run out to see this.
You've changed things. Forever. There's no going back. See, to them, you're just a freak. Like me.
When the menace known as the Joker emerges from his mysterious past, he wreaks havoc and chaos on the people of Gotham. The Dark Knight must accept one of the greatest psychological and physical tests of his ability to fight injustice. Written by Jonathan Nolan and Christopher Nolan, story by Christopher Nolan and David Goyer, based on characters created by Bill Finger and Bob Kane, directed by Christopher Nolan, The Dark Knight. So back in 2008, when I walked out of that theater the first time having seen this movie, if you would have asked me what my score would have been, I would have instantly said a 9 bordering on a 10. I found myself very enamored with the movie at the time. But the years have not been kind. And I'm not 100% sure if it is just that now that the initial shock over Ledger's amazing acting performance has worn off, or if, since we've had so many amazing Marvel comic movies since then, hard to say, but maybe you and I can figure it out together, and maybe it'll adjust my score a little bit, because I still like the movie. I would still recommend you see the movie, but I don't think of this movie as one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, the way most people do. Most people will say Superman, Spider-Man 2, and then The Dark Knight. I don't agree with that. I think that it deserves to be lower. It's maybe still a top 10, but certainly not within the top 3, in my personal opinion.
Okay, well, that is interesting. I'm curious. So you don't even think this is on par with Spider-Man 2?
No, I wouldn't. I found less to... I have a lot of... I mean, you could call them nitpicks, I suppose, but I have a lot of problems with some of the things that they chose to do. And I feel like I had gotten... I won't say duped. Duped sounds like dismissive of the rest of the movie, but I certainly was enthralled so much with Ledger's performance that it definitely prevented me from initially seeing some of the issues that I should have seen the first time. One issue I saw the first time, 100% for sure, relating to the Harvey Dent character, but everything else just kind of came later with subsequent reviews.
Okay, well, I'm curious to pick your brain a little bit. I will say that I think for the most part, my feeling about this film has pretty much stayed consistent. I think when I watched it this time around, again, I enjoyed it very much the way I did the first time. I will say that it's one of those films that I think I spend more time marveling at its technique, its ability. I respect it more than I enjoy it. And I think there's other films that I probably have made similar comments about. Yeah, it's a great film. It is a marvel to look at. But yeah, I don't gravitate toward it the way I do with Batman Begins. But probably only slightly, though. I'll say that Batman Begins, in some ways, is more of a beginning to end excellent origin story. And again, we've never actually had a Batman origin story before, so it's pretty remarkable in that respect. This one, I think everyone would agree that this is a pretty spectacular crime drama. So again, it's great, and it does what it does, exceedingly well. But yeah, I don't reach for it off the shelf as often as I would the other one for sure. But anyway, with that said, though, again, I find it to be pretty masterful in many ways. So I'm curious to see what the grumbling is about.
Well, first of all, let's just say that it is beautifully shot. It is an extremely watchable film from that perspective. I've already praised Ledger twice now, so that kind of goes without saying that he is the best element of the entire movie. This is one of those cases where definitely the villain outshone the hero, and it kind of slightly harkening back to the Burton days of the Batman movies where they like the villain more than the hero. But I kind of felt like it balanced out. It's just that Ledger just like overpowered. There's just no other word to use. He overpowered everybody else.
Yes. And I'm kind of glad you're sort of bringing that up because I feel like that is the elephant in the room that we might as well address now and get it over with because, again, we could easily spend 2 hours talking about just how wonderful his performance is. But yes, he is absolutely incredible as the Joker. And I'll say this, one of the things that I really admire about this film is, and you mentioned Jack Nicholson's portrayal. I remember watching that one, the Tim Burton Batman, and I kind of found it mildly frustrating that they kept insisting on showing him without makeup. And I didn't get what that was about, because I thought on one hand it was sort of odd, and I remember watching it way back to when I saw it the first time. I remember thinking it was sort of odd, and I know we reviewed this already, so we probably talked about it. But the choice to use the facial prosthetics to make the weird smile kind of seemed a little weird, but okay, it was fine, and it was almost like, why would you cover up Jack Nicholson's face when he's kind of the whole reason you brought him in as this character? Then they insisted on, and again, in the movie, they're applying flesh-colored makeup. So you constantly kept seeing him without the makeup, and I didn't get why, because I felt like it sort of broke the tension and broke the menace of it. Here, they keep it on all the time, and they keep it on in places where I kind of felt like that they would have taken it off. Like he's still sitting in the jail cell, and nobody has washed his face. Like they allow him to keep it on. I kind of felt like in the movie, maybe they should have explained it where it's actually sort of tattooed on or done some way that it's kind of permanent. Because I can't see this character getting up every morning and putting on clown makeup. It almost sort of didn't go with his character.
It's funny you should say that. Two things. One, there's one scene in the movie where the Joker is without his makeup. And it's during the big funeral procession where the lineup of people, they're getting ready to do their 21-gun salute. The Joker is one of the people in the line. In fact, he's the one that first puts his gun in the air and then turns it towards the mayor. And there he is. That's him without his makeup.
See, I didn't even catch that. As many times as I've seen that, I never caught that before. So that's actually kind of interesting.
Dude, it literally is a blink and you miss it scene. So it is not. It's not too out of the way for you to have missed that. The other thing was there was an interview. I think it was with Nolan, and he said that basically once they had the idea of the makeup down, Ledger insisted on putting it on himself. The logic being that this guy is putting it on himself. So whenever you see him in makeup, Ledger did that to himself.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. That kind of surprises me, actually, because it looks like it would have taken a pretty able craftsperson to apply it the way, because again, it always looks smudged, it looks dirty. Very, very, again, very smart on behalf of the filmmakers there. But even notwithstanding the scene you're mentioning, I felt like it was very smart of them to not do that thing where they took it off so you could see his face, because that would have been a mistake.
I absolutely agree.
The menace of that character needs to stay put.
I 100% agree, and I'm kind of glad we got the fun part out of the way because now we got to get into the other stuff. Let's just say that the Joker has the most amazing stroke of luck and predicting human nature in order to get his goals, doesn't he?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
That big chase scene, by the way, masterfully done chase scene. This is my problem with the movie. There's a dichotomy. I mean, the whole duality of Batman is it's ironic that I'm feeling this way with the whole duality of Batman, duality of Joker, and everything like that. But there's a dichotomy in this movie where you have these great performances, and honestly, great performances across the board. I don't have a complaint about any of the actors, maybe save for Eric Roberts, but even that, I didn't have a problem with him as Maroni or anything like that. But he was always looking smug all the time, even when he had his legs broken, he still looked like a smug bastard.
Yeah.
But, so it's not the acting and it's not the technical skills, because the movie is beautiful to look at. But when it comes to the plot elements, okay, so the plan was, he was paid to kill the Batman. Harvey Dent says he is the Batman. As they're transferring him to Blackgate Prison, Joker follows him with intent to kill him. But oh no, wait, it wasn't that. It turns out it was a deeper plot to get himself in the jail so that he could get the guy, the Chinese guy who Batman had to pull out of Hong Kong, and to get all the money. I mean, congratulations. That's kind of a really, little complicated plot there. That's a small piece of the puzzle. The entire destruction of Harvey Dent makes no sense.
Yes, I'll grant you that, but go on.
It really doesn't. I mean, here he is in the hospital. Okay, the love of his life has just been killed, and he's got his coin and everything like that, and in comes the Joker. He's tied down, so he can't really do anything at first. And the Joker talks him into giving him a 50-50 shot. I didn't buy that at all. I mean, nothing against the acting by the two gentlemen in that scene. There was some good acting, and you could see, like, Aaron Eckhart really trying to give you this thing, like he's really thinking about everything that the Joker is saying. But my thing still is like, okay, even if you do convince him that, it's everybody else's fault as well as his, that doesn't mean he's suddenly like, okay, well, then I'll just flip a coin from now on and choose who lives and who dies. There was at no point built up that he used that coin for such a thing, because they actually even pointed out that it's a fake coin. It's a two-headed coin.
Right.
So it's a trick. It's like the whole thing is I make my own luck. And all of a sudden he's going to go from I make my own luck to the coin is going to decide. Psychologically, I don't see how that all worked together. Thank you very much. And then let's get into the fact that the man lost half of his face, burns so bad that you can see the sinew and the tissue and stuff like that. But oh boy, it didn't pop his eye though, did it? And that eye is just magically held in place by, I don't know, plot force.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a mouthful. Let me. Going back to what you said about the Joker's plan, I now that you mention it, I will concede that I think this film, I've always sort of allowed myself to just sort of be conned by the shell game. It is a lot. There is a lot of 3-card Monte going on with the plot. And I think I've just sort of allowed it to pass over me. And in fact, I'll even say, for example, Skyfall, the James Bond movie, apes off of this plot, and not nearly as effectively. Where I feel like in this film, again, I'm sort of, I am, the 3-card Monte is working on me, and I'm missing where the card is going. Others have tried to imitate it, and they can't do it nearly as well. Yeah, I sort of always, the part where he gets arrested and then I kind of always regarded that as kind of being his get out of jail free card, meaning like at any time he could have had he been arrested, he's got his way of getting out. But now that you mention it, yeah, probably not so much. And I'll be brutally honest, I remember even the scene where he's literally sitting on a mountain of money. I remember watching that, kind of saying to myself, I couldn't even venture a guess. That has to be more money than the whole gross national product of the United States. Like I mean like if you've ever seen like a picture where somebody says like here's what $1 trillion looks like. Granted, that could be like $1 bills for all I know, but like I can't see it being that much money. That was almost like cinematically I get it, but I did think it was a little silly. Anyway, moving on from that, yes, Harvey Dent's face. Yeah, now that you mention it, okay, all right, that's a little. Yeah, I think even when I saw it, I kind of went like, wait a second, and even in the film. Batman and he are running away from the explosion. The bomb goes off. Batman's fine. Harvey gets lit up because he's got gas in his face. All right, no problem. But Batman put it out pretty quickly. So, yeah, the effect literally looks like they cut his skin off and then burned it. So, I'll grant you that one. And, boy, you really... I really thought I was going to be debating a little bit more, but I'm kind of agreeing wholeheartedly with everything you've said so far. And yes, the part where Harvey loses it and turns on people, I completely agree with you. From the first time I saw the film, I kind of went, yeah, hang on, that doesn't make a lot of sense. The film does go to the trouble. Like, there's the scene where he starts interrogating one of the Joker's goons. And Batman catches him and he says, if anybody saw this whole thing would be ruined because you're the White Knight, you're not supposed to be doing this. So you can sort of see where the slippery slope is starting to happen, where he's starting to unravel. Okay. So, but yeah, the part where the Joker comes into the hospital room, no, I'm sorry. I never bought that for a second. That made no sense. Like, he literally had a loaded gun to the Joker's head, decides not to kill the Joker, yet will go off and hunt down all of the people who the Joker had bribed to do his bidding. No. That made no sense. And frankly, honestly, I never really understood why that scene is even in the movie. Because it didn't really
Because there was no
anything.
scene with the two of them. They had to have it seen between
Why?
them.
But why? Why did they have to have a scene with these two together? I didn't see anything. Again, all I did was walk away kind of going, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, again, when the Joker walks in and he's dressed in the nurse's outfit, I mean, it looks kind of hideous. Mm-hmm. So, and when he just sort of turns and kind of goes, "Hi," like that is a good moment. I will not, I can't take that away from anybody. That's a really good, satisfying moment. Yet, when the scene plays out, it doesn't make any sense. He's trying to convince Harvey that he's not the one who should be killed. He's trying to make this argument that he's just a dog chasing cars. He wouldn't know what to do with it if he caught one. Okay, that's fine. I'm still gonna murder you because if you killed the woman I love and I've got a gun to your head. Especially if he's going to go on a rampage and kill all these other people. And by the way, it really hits a peak of I'm not getting it when he goes after Gordon. What? I don't get that. What was his problem with Gordon? They were on the same page the whole time. At no point did Gordon do something or pull a fast one or do anything wrong to warrant this kind of reaction. I didn't get it. I never got it.
It's because Wirtz and Ramirez were both from the MCU, from his team. He handpicked them. So yeah, I'm not saying it makes sense. I'm saying that's what they're trying to come across, that because he handpicked them, it really is a very fast fall. It should have been a slower fall. Hell, they could have ended the movie with him seeing a shrink, and the shrink is Dr. Harleen Quinzel, and I would have been very happy with that. Just ended the movie with that and be like, okay, she totally is now going to mess with his head, and that's where they're going to go with the Two-Face thing. But no, instead, they wrap up the story at the end of this movie. The first time they're trying to get Two-Face, pretty 100% accurate, but in the end, like, first of all, they made the makeup from frickin' Batman Forever look legit. I'm here praising Batman Forever over this movie.
I don't know if I would go that far, but I mean, I don't think the Joker would. I don't think Two-Face would have looked more convincing with a neon purple face. But I get the point though.
It's just It's a ridiculous look, and it is a ridiculous fall from grace. It is not a good enough fall from grace for him to suddenly decide that the coin is his whole life. In the comics, it's that he had a dual personality that had been hidden, and a trauma is what brought it out of him. But they didn't do any of that. If they had even done something a little bit like that, you kind of would have, you know, you would have at least seen it coming a little bit. That scene where he's torturing, you know, whatever the hell his name was, the guy who had Rachel's name on his thing, the fake cop, the rat face looking guy, that could just be anger. There's nothing wrong with a person who's angry about somebody who's, you know, chasing after the woman he loves.
Yes.
So you can almost understand that. In fact, honestly, when that scene was happening, I was like, yeah, I'd probably do the same thing. I'd see myself doing the same thing. I don't see that as being so nuts.
Yeah.
And considering he never really intended to actually hurt the guy because he had the frickin' trick coin.
Yes, that is a very good point. I completely agree with you. Yeah, they did need to do a little more to really show him kind of cracking, like literally cracking and becoming deranged or something. I mean, again, he's been tortured, he's been whatever, but again, frankly, what they should have done, I think, they should have had the Joker be the one he was going to hunt down last. Like, you know, they should have eliminated that whole scene in the hospital altogether. He should have been mangled, his face should have been maimed, and then he goes on a rampage, starting with Wirtz and Ramirez and the gangster, and eventually trying to hunt down the Joker, and Commissioner Gordon and Batman trying to play containment the whole time, do damage control.
Right.
As it is, yeah, I don't get it. You're giving you literally give the Joker a pass, and then you hunt down the only guy who was literally your friend throughout this whole thing. Sorry, it never worked for me.
You know, for a while there, I thought you really were, Dent. The way you threw yourself after her. Look at you go! What does Harvey know about you and his little bunny? Where are they? Killing is making a choice. Where are they?
Choose between one life or the other. Your friend, the district attorney, or his blushing bride to be.
You have nothing to threaten me with. Nothing to do with all your strength.
But you see, it's funny now because now that we're talking about this, remember how earlier you referred to it as 3-card Monty? And that it worked for you? The problem with me was that, you know, in previous podcasts, I referred to it as magic. Like going to a magic show where for just a moment, you know, the magician fooled me. Made me think, oh, wow, how did he do that? And some movies can do that. Most of the Marvel movies can do that to me. They can transport me to this magical place where all this feels real. And when Captain America says Avengers Assemble, it is the happiest moment of my life, save for the day my kid was born. So, in this movie, the first time I saw it, 100% admit, I didn't see the card. I didn't see the red card. I did not see how Copperfield transported people to a beach. Did not see it the first time. The problem with me is that in subsequent viewings, it cracked. And since I now know where the red card is, and since I now know how the trick is done, I can't unsee it. And it makes it harder to watch this movie because of it. I still enjoy it. I still feel it's a visual treat. Now that I see all these little cracks, it makes it harder for me. And you know, the Joker's plan to blow up one of the two boats and everything like that. That is such a convenient plot to happen. It just so happens that the biggest, meanest criminal on the boat is the one to take the remote from the guard and throw it out the window. Thank goodness for that, because we all know criminals are honorable people, right?
Well, listen, first of all, we're going to have to talk about the positive soon, because if we keep this up, my score has literally, during the course of the last 15 minutes, my score has gone down 2 whole points. So we need to kind of refresh ourselves and get back to talking about some positives, or else. And I honestly did not mind at all the 2 ferries with the people on it and the bad guy throwing the thing out the window. I really did not have a problem with that. I think at the end of the day, the whole point is even the skunk on the other boat, the yuppie guy. Once push comes to shove, murdering 100 people. Could you do it? Could I do it? And even even if somebody is in jail because by some turn of events they took a life, murdering 100 people that's a big deal. So I got no problem with the idea that both parties on either boat could not bring themselves to do it. I don't have a problem with that at all. Having said that, let's take a look at the bank heist in the beginning. That is a masterfully done scene.
There isn't a better scene done throughout the entire Nolan trilogy. It is amazing. It is an astounding, perfect way to open the movie, a great introduction to the character of the Joker, and yet still being grounded within Gotham City. Just outstanding. Amazing scene. I could watch that scene alone over and over again. I think I have, actually. I think like that and the scene where Nightcrawler breaks into the White House, I used to just watch solo sometimes just because of how amazing those 2 scenes are.
Yeah. I mean this is so good it almost serves as like a mini movie on its own. I mean it is so complex in the way it just unravels, and when you finally get to the punchline, I mean, I actually watched that probably multiple times now, and I feel like every time I watch it, it sort of gets better and better even.
I'll agree with that. There's a lot to see. It is a very, very rich and complex scene, and yet tightly edited, perfectly performed across the board by everybody.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a bad thing from me out of that at all.
I did find one little ding in that in that scene after multiple viewings, but.
Go on.
My only problem with it, it took me a long time to even catch this, but when the bus leaves the bank and pulls out into the train of other buses and just sort of gets lost, I kind of went, wait a second. There's not a single dent in that bus after it just crashed into the side of a bank. It took me a long time to notice it, but once I did.
I don't remember that, but I'll probably see it from now on. So thanks a lot.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. I've kind of ruined this movie for you too. So I'm kind of just as much
this
to
is
blame.
true.
So so we're even, I suppose. Well, not really. That was a masterful scene. I love the fact that I'd say 80% of the movie is practical effects. Like when they flip that freaking truck over. Okay, yeah, let's throw the physics out the window for a half second. That's not the way a truck would flick over. I don't care. That was freaking awesome. The way that trick that they actually closed off that street in Chicago and they freaking flipped the gosh darn truck just to get that damn shot. That was beautiful. And I love the Bat Pod. I think the Bat Pod is one of the most amazing engineering designs I've ever seen.
Yeah, I will give you that. I still, yes, there's moments when I see it kind of doing all kinds of funky things with the wheels turning in different directions, and it makes me kind of go, wow, how does that work there? But yes, it is a great, cinematically, it's pretty amazing.
Well, I'm just talking about in general too, because when that thing is, when it's doing the impossible stuff, that's one thing. Like, when it flips the tires around or when he goes up the wall and down, that was,
Yeah.
that type of stuff. I'm talking about just when it's driving straight, because that's actually a vehicle that does that. Okay? With almost, it's just, to me, that's an amazing piece of engineering.
Agreed. Absolutely.
So, I mean, as always, when it comes to, technically, you can't really say anything bad about this movie in the technical department. The visual effects are on, with one exception. We'll get to that in a second. The visual effects are right there. The stunt work is great. The fight scenes are much clearer, much easier to follow this time. And I kind of feel like I am getting the impact of all the things that Batman does. I think the replacement of Maggie Gyllenhaal over
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Katie Holmes over Katie Holmes was an excellent replacement. Is she as pretty as Katie Holmes? No, but can she act? Hell yes, she can act.
Yeah, listen, I will agree with you there wholeheartedly, because I remember when that little switcheroo happened, again, I had a mixed feeling about it, because it almost seemed like overnight Batman was all of a sudden dating Katie Holmes' mom. Not to knock this lady, she's a pretty lady, but yeah, there is something about her that I think she looks older than her age. However, having said that, when the scenes of her negotiating with Lau, I was far more convinced by Maggie Gyllenhaal than I ever would have been by Katie Holmes. I thought she was much more capable, so yes, that was a step in the right direction.
Absolutely, 100%. I will grant you that without fail. Like I said, the stunt work, the cinematography is outstanding. The action sequences that happened were really well done. I even liked that they found it's a silly excuse. I'm going to say it right here, but I still am glad that it happened. They found a silly excuse to finally give Batman the white eyes after all these years.
Yes. I did like that. That was pretty cool. Which, by the way, we should talk about why he's got the white eyes. That bit of technology.
Tech foo! Completely unrealistic tech foo!
Well, go ahead. Why is it unrealistic?
First of all, do you know how many different types of phones there are in the world? Okay? The different companies, the different brands with different firmware and different software and so on and so forth. You know, the fact that each one is on different phone networks and everything like that. Okay? To do what he needed to do, he would have had to have sent an update to millions of different phones with thousands of different types of firmware and dozens of different service providers to have to push it out through.
Even that, what you're saying is probably generous, because honestly, I kind of feel like that wouldn't even be a software update. That would probably be like a hardware install. The idea that the phone could actually perform that, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it depends upon what they were saying, because, he says it acts like sonar, so I'm assuming that they're trying to say something like the earpiece was acting like, like a ping from sonar, and the mouthpiece was like the return for it or something like that. But still, there's no way to extrapolate that data without a huge, system in place. And who wrote the software for it? Obviously, Bruce must have written the software for it, because in Batman, in Dark Knight Rises, it's implied that Bruce has some, computer skills, which we'll get to when we get to Dark Knight Rises next week. But, no, it's not as simple as that. Do you know what it takes a team of people to build, like, a video game character? Okay, take a video game character with a level of artificial intelligence. It doesn't have to be like too artificially intelligent. You just want it to be like, okay, you want the character to walk from point A to point B and then take cover and jump up every once in a while to take shots at the person's, the player's character. Okay? Do you know how many people it takes just to program something like that and make it work? All right? Dozens of people over months just to make that happen. And you're telling me that super genius Bruce Wayne has figured out a way to not only do these firmware updates, not only to do these software updates throughout the entire city, but then to be able to collate all that data into a giant centralized machine and interpret it and all that other stuff within the time, while he's still out there fighting the Joker and all that other stuff going on. When the hell does he have the time to do that type of hacking?
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that if you look at the time frame, what is it? Maybe like 2 or 3 weeks since the time where Fox shows him the cell phone and says, this is what we're going to use we use this in Lau's building, blah 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 blah, and so on and so forth. Maybe 2-3 weeks. Let's be generous. Even a month. Still not enough time to build a system like that, especially a system like that in quiet, without Fox knowing.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny too, because honestly, I had problems with that as well. You took it to another level, so yes, I'm agreeing with you. There's nothing you said that I disagree with. My feeling was not even so much about the technical side, but just that, yes, if you are legitimately getting data input from every cell phone in the city, how would you decipher the information? How would you would literally need a team of people sorting through actual information. Because again, anytime a mention of the Joker, I need to know about it. Well, the whole city's talking about the Joker. So you would still need some sort of intelligence to sort through it and figure out what's what. So, yeah, listen, I can't agree with anything you just said. Hey, can we talk about where he goes to Hong Kong? Because that part was cool.
I'm sorry, dude. I don't mean to be a bastard about these things. I just before we do that, I just gotta make one last thing. Bruce Wayne suddenly became Clark Kent / Superman from Superman Returns when it came to Rachel. Okay, buying out restaurants, taking the entire ballet away when he knew they were going to be there or when they were supposed to be going. Stalker.
I didn't really get that sense. I kind of felt like, I mean, the restaurant, I don't think he bought the restaurant 20 minutes before their reservation because he wanted to.
That's even worse. That's even worse. It's like, what's this? They have a reservation 2 weeks from now? Because he even said, do you know how long it took me to get a reservation at this place? So he did it a while ago, and then just kind of held on to that bit of information until tee-hee, here I am at the restaurant, same time as you.
I interpreted that differently. My interpretation was that he was trying to get to Harvey Dent to sit with him, read him, because he asked beforehand, do you think this guy is trustworthy? So I that's kind of how I read that. The bit about the ballet, actually that leads me to another part that I found a little silly, but I didn't interpret that as, oh, Rachel's got tickets to go with Harvey to go to the thing. I'm going to mess it up. It could have been a dual purpose. I kind of just sort of figured, yes, it's cover for him to be in another part of the world. Which, by the way, I didn't quite get where they were supposed to be in that big yacht with the whole ballet. But I kind of was saying to myself, I assume it's somewhere near where he's trying to get to, which is Hong Kong. To which I kind of went, maybe you shouldn't do a big public display that you're over in some part of the world where Batman is going to happen to show up. I mean, I assume that he's far enough away from where he's trying to get to, but close enough to make it, again, on his way.
Well, it's not like there's paparazzi surrounding him in the middle of the ocean or wherever the hell they were. How would they even know the difference? The girls, all the ballerinas, what are they? They're going to be hopped up on champagne and being taken care of by Alfred for the however many hours that it takes him to pull off the heist.
Yeah, but again, why? I mean, they literally cut out a clipping from a newspaper and they hang it up on the window of the ballet at the box office.
Yeah, saying he took them, but
right.
Not seeing, but nobody's actually watching where he is. So
the impression I got was that they absolutely know. I mean, you figure enough of those ballet dancers are on the boat with their cell phones and saying, "Hey, guess where I am?" So the secret would not be kept very well. I'm getting to where, and there was another scene too. I'm gonna forget. And then the other scene was when the Joker shows up at the party. And Bruce Wayne disappears, Batman shows up. I was kind of getting to where the whole secret identity was really getting called into play in a couple places. But that's minor concern.
Yeah, that there could be. Yeah,
but the Hong Kong extraction scene was really cool. Let's talk about that.
It was an outstanding scene. It was done extremely well. I love the idea of using Tailhook to get them out of the building. Him gliding across from the building. I I don't know if somebody actually jumped off the building and then he parachuted and they just, whatever. But it looked really, really good. It was really a technical marvel to watch that entire scene happen. And to have it be so damn frantic and kinetic, like from the minute he just crashes through the window that he's put the little sticky bombs on and everything like that, all the way up to dragging the guy out to the corner.
Yeah.
All incredible scenes.
Yeah.
And it's like over in like 2 minutes, not even.
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, we've definitely spent a lot of time talking about the chinks in the armor, but I kind of feel like, I don't know. I find the whole film to be pretty spectacular and amazing, aside from a lot of the tiny little leaps in logic here and there. And, maybe tiny's not exactly accurate, but, there is a lot to like about this film.
There is, but when you're presenting a movie that you say is a gritty and realistic take on the Batman universe, if you're going to stand on the shoulders of that statement, you have to be very... Look at what we said about Batman Begins, okay? Our biggest complaint was the focused microwave emitter. We kind of felt that was a little almost extra sci-fi-y, but we bought everything else in that movie. Everything else in that movie seemed to work just fine. But here we are now, and it's different. It's not as tightly put as the first one. I'm not sure if it's a decision on the part of Nolan, if it was whatever the case may be, but the leaps in logic in the first Batman, the hardest leap of logic in the first Batman for you was Rutger Hauer's character. Because they didn't really explain why he was a bad person and why all of a sudden it was a good thing that this bad person was taken down. Okay, that's a legitimate complaint. I'm sure that they could have done something, you do one little add-in to show what a scumbag this guy is, then that little end scene would have made much more sense. Same with the focused microwave emitter. Had they just taken the time, they took the time to explain everything else about the Batsuit in that movie. They couldn't take the time for 1 second to explain how the focused microwave emitter doesn't focus, in body chemistry or something like that, and I would have been fine. We both would have been absolutely fine in that. This movie doesn't have that luxury. It has way too many quote-unquote little things that add up to harder to take seriously as we did the first Batman movie. Batman Begins will, as of now, remains the best of all the Batman movies that have been done so far. This movie is a great movie. It is not as good as Batman Begins.
All right. I guess we got to wind it down. I guess we've kind of... We've certainly said our piece. I personally feel like, honestly, the microwave emitter is a lot more of a leap in logic to me than the sonar or anything like that. Granted,
or the eyeball that didn't explode and the face that's kind of holding it together. Come on, the microwave emitter I could see more.
Yeah, wow, I don't know if I agree with that. Listen, the look of Harvey Dent. I don't know. I just sort of find I kind of feel like a lot of that I would easily let slide. Listen, I could. It's not easy when they tell you there's no Santa Claus, and you've seen the cracks in the foundation of this film, so you're hurt. I get it.
I am.
You've been hurt.
It has hurt me.
Where do we begin? A year ago, these cops and lawyers wouldn't dare cross any of you. What happened?
So what are you proposing?
It's simple. Kill the Batman.
But what's going to hurt us even more is when we give it a score.
Who's going first with this?
I have made my case for this movie. I still think it is an excellent movie. Well, let me rephrase that. I still think it is a great movie. I think that if you go into it in the right mindset, I think probably the biggest problem with this movie is the lack of time in between. I feel like maybe if I had put more distance between Batman Begins and Dark Knights, maybe I wouldn't be so critical of it as I was. But I can't now. Once the scent is, once I smell the scent of blood, I'm gonna go frenzy, and it sucks. I wish I could go back and give it that 9 that I gave it back in the early days. But the truth of the matter is that the errors that I see now are almost like overpoweringly glaring to me. So I gave this movie a 7. And I'm not ashamed of that 7. I think it's a fair number. It gets 2 points alone just for Ledger's performance, which is what we started with. But they're just, in my view, there's too much going on that I couldn't get past. And each time I found another one, it just brought me down more and more.
So if Heath Ledger was not cast in this film and it was given to another reasonably competent actor, but not as dazzling, you would have scored this movie a 5?
Potentially.
Wow. Holy cow. Well, all right, listen, I was sort of wondering where you were going to go with that score. I was wondering if the final product would have been as harsh as this review. I believe it or not, well, I'm going to give it a 9. Listen, I gave Batman Begins a 9. I think it's an incredible film, and I believe that this film has taken it up a notch, frankly, and it's much more ambitious. I find that the look of Gotham City has become more realistic than previously. I think the performance by Heath Ledger is amazing. It's a combination of the performance and just the tone that Christopher Nolan gave this character. And again, I find the whole thing to be very complex. And this is, I said that Batman Begins was a film that had something to say, and I think this one does as well. All of the performances are still top notch. I find that the complexity of the story works. I mean, I talked about the bank heist. I talked about the extraction in Hong Kong. These are amazing scenes, and even the moments where the film is playing a little 3-card Monty, like I said, I was sold. And even watching it now, it's not like I can even put my finger on what exactly is wrong. Yes, I believe that some of the things you said, the exaggerations in technology, these are all very legit. But I mean, hell, if I'm going to buy the nanotechnology where Iron Man's suit can just magically appear out of thin air, then I have no problem with the idea that sonar has been taken up a couple notches. So listen, I respect everything you're saying, and it's not even that I'm disagreeing necessarily. It just didn't have the negative impact on me that it did for you. So I'm gonna stick with my 9, even with all of the very good arguments that you made.
Well, you know what, man? Good for you for sticking to your guns. And frankly, I hope the bloom never comes off the rose for you on this one. I would rather. I don't like. I made it. I made the analogy that, a movie that can perform a magic trick on me, I will always respect. And even if later on I see through the magic trick, I'm still going to respect it. I still respect this movie a hell of a lot. And I almost feel bad because I always promised myself that if I ever did see through a magic trick, I'd never tell people that I saw through it or exactly how it was done. And now here I am kind of breaking that promise with you, so I apologize for that.
Hey, we're grown-ups. We talk about movies, and this is Reviews Without Remorse. So bring it on.
I'm not apologizing. Other than that, how about who asked you, sir?
Who asked me? I forgot where I was going to go with this one. In fact, again, it's such a good movie that I am really struggling to come up with any negatives, quite frankly. But I will simply say that I did not buy, and yes, I said it before, the whole scene with Harvey Dent and the Joker is, to me, it's so... I just, not only is the logic so incredibly flawed, I honestly don't see what that scene contributes to the film. I mean, basically, my whole "Who Asked You" is essentially the whole handling of the Harvey Dent falling from grace routine. If he just went on a tear, a rampage of just taking out every son of a bitch who was involved in this whole thing, no trial, no jury, just all of a sudden now he's the Punisher and he's just, I would be fine with it. Totally fine with it. Again, it would have been better had it been a little more of a mind game, like a full-blown snap into insanity. But I would have taken just the rageful revenge story. But that idea that he's going to give the Joker a pass makes zero sense. Zero sense. And again, if that scene contributed to the story, I would have said, okay. If I saw where this was necessary to move the plot forward, I would have given it a pass, or at least somewhat of a pass. I don't even see that either. So I just would have taken that scene out altogether, have him say, the Joker's the next, I'm going to get him as soon as I catch him, and just never catch him. That would have been fine with me. I don't see what this did. So that gets it.
Honestly, that's mine too, dude. On top of the makeup, on top of the bad tech, on top of all the other things, the one that will always bother me is Harvey Dent's fall from grace. They didn't set anything up to truly give that moment any weight. Having him be turned by the Joker doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it does in the respect of escalation. Remember, that was the sort of semi-theme of this movie as expressed at the end of Batman Begins. We wear bulletproof vests, they use Teflon bullets, blah, 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 and now there's this guy. And the idea that the escalation then escalates the escalation by creating Harvey Dent, I see where they were going, but they didn't earn it. And it wasn't legitimate. And the turn to the heel by Harvey, as well done as Eckhart tried to make that work, I don't blame him for it. I blame a bad script. I blame not any type of foreshadowing or not any way of handling that scene better. I mean, for God's sakes, if the Joker could have gone in and just said, "Hey, I told them where Rachel was. They decided to go get you." Something as simple as that. It's not a perfect explanation, but I would have bought him wanting to go after Gordon more with just that line than with anything else that he said in that entire scene. So that's how I would have changed it, at least somewhat.
Yeah, and again, I that's one I certainly can't argue with.
Well, how about for your consideration? There's actually a good amount to have for your consideration, so.
You think? You wouldn't know it listening to you, buddy.
Oh, shut up.
Listen, I already said it. I feel like the obvious one is going to be Heath Ledger's performance, so I'm not going to go for the obvious, but yes, it's pretty tremendous. But honestly, I feel like those scenes, it's the bank hold up in the beginning, and the extraction of Lau from Hong Kong. I mean, both of them are just tremendous, and I kind of feel like that those two scenes sort of encapsulate exactly why I think this film is so incredible, and frankly, I think it's a tribute to Nolan, frankly. So I just think those scenes are tremendous and I love them. So that's it.
And absolutely, I'm not going to argue with you on that. I am going to give it to Heath Ledger a little bit, but honestly, the more I think about it, the interrogation scene between Batman and the Joker is what I've always dreamed of having in a scene with Batman and the Joker. Right up to when he says, "You have nothing to threaten me with, nothing to do with all your strength." To this day, his delivery of that line, the way he laughs and looks at him like, "You dumb bastard," and says the line, it still gives me chills. So I'm giving it to the interrogation scene.
Another good one. Yeah, wow. This review did not unfold the way I expected. I thought for sure that you would have been, of all people, a pretty good-sized fan of this movie. I almost wish I could go back in time and talk to the Dave who saw this film. It just came out of the theater and it was still fresh, and I could have picked your brain and heard you kind of rave. I think, but oh boy, this is the dour Curmudgeon Dave.
I know. Insert get off my lawn sound effect.
There you go.
I wish I didn't see what I saw. Believe me, I do. I wish I can go back to that time. Because, you know what, dude? Guarantee you, if I'm still alive 10 years from now, I'll probably see something like that in the Avengers movies, too. It'll probably eventually happen. On a long enough timeline, with a critical enough eye, you're going to see issues. And then they cascade. They become dominoes.
I'm kind of terrified for next week now.
Oh, yes, you should be, because next week, ladies and gentlemen, nobody cared who we were before we put on the mask. We're going to be reviewing The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, boy, I'm going to brace yourself.
Yeah, brace for impact, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your hands and arms inside the vehicle at all times.
That's it. Oh, boy, alrighty.
So until then, sir, sorry to be such a curmudgeon today.
Hey, quite all right. Keeping it real is what we do here.
Take care, sir. Thank you.
I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Join us here every Thursday for a new episode, and be sure to check out the Reviews Without Remorse channel on YouTube for spoiler-free reviews of new releases. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider becoming a patron. You can find our page on patreon.com/reviewswithoutremorse, one word. As little as $1 a month goes a long way. All clips in this podcast are for commentary and critique and is considered fair use. No copyright infringement is intended.
Sir, the whole boat is rigged to explode, and I found this!
Greetings from the Joker. Why so serious? Anyway, we have a boat of civilians and a boat of prison inmates. I will blow up both boats at midnight.
Oh my god!
However, each boat has a detonator that will blow up the opposite boat. If one boat decides to blow up the other boat prior to midnight, I will not blow up the boat that blows up the other boat. It's quite the moral quandary, is it not?
Then let's vote on neither boat blowing up.
No, he says we decide.
Then I decide neither boat blows up.
Wait.
So we vote?
No, we just press the button, I
don't understand. What does this prove exactly?
Mr. Joker, sir, we came to a consensus. We vote that neither boat should blow up.
Yeah, very good.
That's my vote.
That's not a choice.
You better explain it again then, I guess.
I will blow up both the boats.
Oh my god!
Unless one boat blows up the other boat first.
What are the other options?
There are no other options.
Ask him when both boats blow up.
Midnight!
All right, folks, that gives us a good 15 minutes. Everyone into the lifeboats.
No lifeboats. I said that you couldn't use them.
You never said that.
I did. Way back in the beginning.
You better go over the rules again.
Oh, it's a catch-22. Look, there are two boats at midnight.